All right, what's going on, guys? Sorry I haven't been videoing in a little bit. Just been dealing with some fucking shit and all this other jazz. So what I'm doing right now is probably gonna give some people a headache because this is a little intense. Okay, so as you can see, I probably should have started videoing earlier, but yeah. So long story short, what I was gonna do, here's my fuse box. Okay, that's all taken apart, as you can see. Now you'll see that there's. Let me grab the light. This is all right. Well, I can't seem to find my light, but if you can see, there you go. Okay, you'll see that there's barely any fuses or relays in here. Headlight. Okay, main, or sorry. Yeah, I'm tripping. It's for headlamps, main fuse. Shit. Where's my cover? Long story short, here's all the fuses, most of the fuses and shit. So pretty much I deleted all the ABS garbage. I deleted the DRL. Shit, all that shit down here, which is, this is DRL relay. So I'm gonna literally just hook up I'm gonna do myself a relay to my DRLs. It's just, man, these cars, way too much shit going on. Okay, so this is my EFI relay. So this powers pretty much everything. This relay powers pretty much all the other relays in the car. So this is circuit opener. That's for my alternator, radio, EFI, ECU power, and yeah, vice versa. So the things that and this is like for the actual key switch itself, which is AM2 or whatever the hell it is. So these are all the ones I'm keeping. Now the reason why I started deleting stuff, obviously, because I'm just OCD as hell, and I don't need all this shit in there if I'm not using it. Literally, there's one thing that makes me OCD, and it's wiring. So because what I was originally going to do is actually relocate this fuse box all the way in the trunk with the battery, because that's the main thing I'm doing, is relocating the battery. So I have room in here because, as you can see, no room over here. This is going to be going in the car, but it's not like I want to put a catch can or anything up here like that, no. So I'm relocating a battery, and I was going to relocate this. Now the main reason that I decided not to relocate this, okay, is the main reason of, okay, that's a lot of wires. Shit, my lighting is so terrible. Okay, so there's just, there's like 100 and some odd wires here. Now, what my big debate is the fact of, if I run this to the trunk, okay, then I have to run a wire up from the trunk for the alternator, and yeah. But at the point of that is, I'm also running this big loom of wire back and a 1-gauge wire. Versus if I leave this here, then I can put the battery in the trunk, and I can run just one 1-gauge wire up to power this, and then I'm laughing. So that's probably what I'm gonna do. I'll set you guys down, and what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna test fit a few things, because what I'm doing, and the whole reason this is even happening. Okay, so all my power wires on my engine harness, like injector power, coil power, VVTi, solenoid, boost control solenoid, idle control solenoid, all that jazz, I'm making my own fuse box. Okay, so that's even why my starter relay is, I took it out of here and it's just sitting here temporarily, because I'm doing a starter relay, fan relays, fuel pump relay, everything pretty much, and a main relay to run like all my solenoids, EFI relay to run the fuel pump, and injector power and coil power. So yeah, I'm pretty much creating a power management unit. So I needed a spot to be able to put that, and it's just a pretty small box. So I'm thinking I'm probably gonna put it over here, and then yeah, so I'm just gonna pretty much start seeing what's gonna fit where and what's gonna look nice. All right, guys, what's going on? It's another day. I'm gonna show you guys what I did, and yeah. So with the battery relocation, obviously, as you can see, this is no battery there anymore, and my fuse box is literally tie strapped down right there for the time being. Okay, this fuse box is going to be getting moved either inside the cabin or it's going to be getting deleted completely. So that I just need to figure out. Don't worry about that. Okay, so this is how you relocate your battery. I used 0 gauge. Okay, and it comes up. It's a little difficult. Okay, so there's my starter wire that you can barely see right there. Okay, and that runs over in and down along the cabin, and I use 0 gauge wire, and as you can see, it's to the point of where you can't even tell that it's in there. Okay, and then it runs all the way back. Grab my keys here. Okay, so there's my battery. Okay, so as you can see, my carpet, trunk all looks normal. Right, and then it's just over here in the corner. So this is 0 gauge wire. I use the factory protector on top. And then over there is my ground, which goes down. And my ground actually runs all the way up front. Okay, it literally taps into all the grounds at the engine bay. That's a 1 gauge wire, and that goes up there. This is a 0 gauge wire, and it runs all the way up there where I just showed you. And what it does is there's an eyelet on it, and that eyelet goes up, and then the 2 other eyelets, the one from the fuse box and the one from the starter, both are attached to it with a distribution bolt through it. And then that's all heat shrunk, taped off, and all that other jazz. And then same with the ground. Now, it doesn't just run, the power doesn't just run straight up. It's actually breakered here at this 200 amp circuit breaker. Now, this is just temporary because trying to find a circuit breaker that supports 0 gauge wire is impossible, literally. So the one that I had to end up getting was kind of like an inline fuse style for what you would use for, say, like a sound system. And then what you're gonna do is then you're gonna put the wire directly into that actual circuit breaker, and then it's gonna go directly out of it. So it's literally gonna be an inline circuit breaker instead of having to be mounted on the trunk like that one is. So that's just gonna be a little bit safer, makes me a little bit happier. And it's 250 amps that I'm gonna be running. That's a 200 and it's doing fine. 250 is just for safety in case I start running more stuff, like say, I don't even really know. Honestly, it's just for safety, for the number one reason that I live in Canada, and the colder it gets, the more amps that your starter draws. So at the end of the day, I didn't want to be sitting there, oh, okay, everything's fine, it's the summer, now all of a sudden it's minus 30 outside, I'm going to fire up my car and I won't fucking fire it up because I didn't use a big enough circuit breaker, and it's not like they're cheap. So that's that, and always make sure that it's protected. Okay, I know that some people run like a forward solenoid in the back for the starter so that the starter wire is only live when you're cranking, but those solenoids on a daily basis literally will lock up. Like, I deal with them at work. It's the same solenoid that you use on a plow pretty much, and they literally lock up all the time. Like, I literally replace them left, right, and center because they're always fucked up. So I don't recommend going that route if it's your daily driver. If it's like a weekend car that you barely ever drive, okay, you might be able to get away with it, but I would refrain from that just slightly. So that's why I went circuit breaker. And you can use a fuse too, like they do for sound systems, but the thing is if it does blow and you do get a short or something like that, then you're into buying a new fuse. Now, don't get me wrong, because you don't want it to short out, so it's not like it's that big of a deal, but this is just more or less in the reason that if it ever does trip, I don't have to go out and buy another one. And not only that, the nice thing about a circuit breaker is it's a one-touch battery disconnect. So here, look at this. So as you can see, my light's on, okay? Now, just gonna reach down, show you guys, okay? Now see how it says reset? Now you'll see the light's not on. Now, I'll reset it, and as you see, it's back on. So it's kind of like a battery disconnect switch, one touch, instead of actually having to remove the cables, which is quite nice. So yeah, that's that. Now, all these wires, what doesn't get deleted is going to get tucked probably. So that's why that's still open like that. When it comes to this, I was going to run this in secondary, like side by side. This one with my standalone from ECU Master. I'm not anymore. So I'm literally getting rid of all of this garbage. Getting rid of this, getting rid of this, and 75% of in here is already deleted. As you can see, this is my starter relay. That's just literally sitting here. I know it looks a little ghetto, but that's because this is going in the new fuse box that I'm making, because I'm making a fuse box specifically for the JZ. Okay, so if you look at the back, okay. Okay, so we got 2 parts to this harness essentially. Because as you can see, okay, it goes from one loom here at the engine, then it comes down, and then it splits to 2. Okay? Now, main reason for this. This is the ECU side, obviously, for the ECU master, and that's for the Bluetooth connector. Okay? So that's all terminated. Looking fresh. Frickin' fresh, my friend. That's good. And then these are my switch wires. Okay? The reason why these aren't in the loom. 2 blue ones for the switches. One goes to my clutch pedal for launch control. One goes to the rotary knob I bought for boost control. And then the other ones are analog outputs like my tach, my speedometer, my check engine light. Yeah, stuff like that. So, yeah. Then this side right here, the second piece, okay? See a lot of red wires here. Now, what all these red wires are for is all my powers, okay? All my powers, and I also have all of my alternator wires here. This black one, this red one, and this white one here. So those are all for my alternator. Okay? So, this goes as such. This is literally going to be going into a fuse. This is literally going to be plugged into the ECU inside the cabin. This is going to run into the engine bay over there on that side, and my catch can goes up above there, and then it's going to sit in front of that nice little fuse box. All these are going to run into it, okay, and be powered off an ignition switch. So I'm going to run a main relay off ignition, and then probably an EFI relay off ignition for my fuel pump, my injectors, my coils, and the main relay will run it will run my ECU, it'll run the VVTi control, the boost solenoid, and yeah, all that jazz. And then on top of that, this starter relay is going to be going inside there, okay? Not that one specifically, but I'm using a brand new relay, but just a starter relay is going to be going in there. So that will be deleted. And then, as you see in here, okay, fuel pump, this relay right here is only for a resistor, okay? It's literally only for a resistor. What happens is the fuel pump is actually ran, or this is ran off the EFI relay, okay? And that sends power to this on ignition. Power comes down to this, okay, on one side, and on the other side, on the signal side, what happens is it's actually power tapped over to the signal side, loops around, comes down, goes to a resistor, okay, and that resistor then goes to the output of the power side. Okay, so essentially what happens is when the car's on idle or whatever, it will go through the resistor, okay, skip the relay, it'll go through the resistor and then out the output so that you have a quiet fuel pump. And then as you get over, I think it's 5% throttle position, this turns, the resistor gets bypassed now, and now the relay is on. Okay, so that's the only reason this is. If you take 12 volt from the power inside of the relay and the power outside of the relay terminals down in this box, you can literally bypass it. No problem. And then what happens is you can actually hear your fuel pump, and that's the only difference. So, at the end of the day, I'm not even going to have a separate fuel pump relay because it's all going to run off my EFI because my fuel pump only pulls like 10 amps. Dimmer switch, already gone. AC, that's getting deleted. Now see how there's 3 fan relays? Okay. This one is for a secondary temperature come on. So like they'll come on idle and then they'll come on high full when it hits a certain temperature. Yada, yada, yada. All that's getting deleted, okay? Now, like I said, the fuel pump's gonna be getting ran off my new fuse box, and so will 2 fan relays for each one of my fans. So a fan relay for this one and a fan relay for that one. So that can all be deleted. Now the only thing left that I have in here is main relay, EFI relay, and headlight relay. and the alternator fuse. So I gotta figure out if I can delete the EFI relay and the main fuse, and still have everything working inside the cabin. Because if I can have everything still working inside the cabin, then I can delete that shit, because everything's gonna be ran off a fuse box that I make anyways, and then all the power will go through that, and I won't have to have this huge box. Now, the one thing I'm not gonna be able to delete, obviously, will be the alternator. The alternator fuse, which is a 120 amp fuse. So what I'm either gonna do is put this in the cabin, or I'm gonna cut it out, like obviously take all the covering off, and then cut out that section, and then get a small sealed waterproof box, like very, very small, that can sit down underneath my catch can. For the relation of, that way you don't have this huge box. Now, the main reason I am running a second fuse box is that this JZ can literally be put into any car. Like, I mean, it'll get dropped in with a fuse box and it will come out with a fuse box. Because the only wires that are gonna be running into this custom fuse box that I make, okay, are literally gonna be a constant power and an ignition switch. Like an ignition switched signal. So, that's it. Literally. It's easy as that. So, yeah. Just getting some things going, and all right, guys. So that's how I relocated my battery, and what I'm starting to do with the wiring in the engine bay. Things may change. They always do. Let's be honest. So, yeah. Obviously, I'll keep you guys up to date. If you guys have any questions or anything relating to the actual battery relocation or any of this jazz, yeah, just let me know, or hit me up at 2JZKyle on Instagram, and I'll get back to you guys. Thanks for watching, guys. Take it easy. Have a great evening.